Hey, Chico, living up bags on a boat, put a pick on. In the drop, pick on. Top, we sitting on the top like pick on. I'm up too many, this best up to Chico. Got me frozen, it's so better leave. I'ma swap it for time and I fake it for me. Jada be based in 2 days, I'm on 3, I'm gone. Palomino Patron, Cappuccino Tutron. Alameda song, stack it up, stack it up.
What is up, fellow degenerate traders? I am Satoshi, and I'm so glad to be back with you guys on this fine Thursday. We've got a rocking episode for you guys if you are a trader, if you are moving on chain because of KYC, if all of that stuff, then you're going to want to tune in here because these guys have some truly cool solutions to check out for the on-chain traders. And with me today is Hackerman Ace and Hitta from the Flowmatic team. What's up, guys?
How's it going?
Hey, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. We're super psyched to talk to you guys. And then, of course, we have Gunny, who is representing the Hxro fam. He's here to talk about some sick Hxro features and opportunities upcoming. What's up, Gunny?
What's up? How are you?
Dude, so good. Feeling toasty. I'm ready. So guys, let's get right into it. We normally do a little bit of a market overview just to kick it off. I know you guys also are traders, not just on the back end of things. Is that correct?
That is correct. I mean, I spent a lot of time scalping, pretty high frequency, I would say a few hundred trades a day kind of thing, pretty short duration. Listening to Agger way too much, so I've definitely got PTSD from Agger.
Then that's great. We can get your guys' opinion on the market overview, and then you guys can tell me why I'm going to make the full switch to Flowmatic from everything else I use throughout the rest of the episode. So let's pull up a screen share, Coach, and let's all talk about where we're at. Anyone who has an opinion on what's going on right now, feel free to jump out. I'll just set the context to say that, we dipped below this very crucial 25.2 support. That was resistance, and then support once, and now looking like it's support again, looking like a fake down from that 25.2 level. There's not really any news-based narrative for why we would recover like this, but we are headed up. And what do you guys think about this?
Ace, you want to take this one?
Yeah, I mean, my stance might be a little different from everybody else's, but I've been bullish for quite some time. So based off what I trade and my strategy, I'm long and strong. So I'm long on ETH. I don't have any positions open on Bitcoin, but for the most part, in general, fundamentally, I keep getting more bullish, even though I wasn't as bullish fundamentally before. But even on a technical level, I'm expecting more of a breakout to occur, probably more towards probably the first week of October. So that's kind of where I stand.
When you say breakout, you mean sort of this cluster that has been kind of keeping us down?
So I trade Ichimoku, so that's a little bit different, but that pretty much means that I'm looking for a breakout more towards the 29 area, so out of this horrible range we've been stuck in forever.
What is that? Is that the clouds?
Yeah.
Yes.
So what are your settings for Moku?
I keep them default, but I'm focused on the weekly right now.
Okay. So tell us a little bit about how that works. What of the intersection of these lines here has you so bullish?
Basically the whole point of this is the fact that if you notice there's a big giant red cloud, that means that we're looking to reverse out of a giant downtrend that we've been going through since 2021. Looks like it's back around Christmas time 2021 is since we've been going through this downtrend. So a typical easy reversal play on Ichimoku is when you have the price enter into the clouds, it's going to do one of two things. It's going to go to the opposite end of the cloud, or it's going to end up breaking out, one or the other. Obviously, if it's weak, it's going to break down, but that's not something that's happened yet, and it doesn't look like it's going to happen. So for me, and if you watch this in stock markets right now, a lot of these breakouts have occurred in stocks because they've been trending for about 2 years as well. So I'm expecting Dixie to break down because Dixie's at the resistance point of the cloud. So that's kind of where I lie. I'm assuming Dixie comes down, Bitcoin goes up, and we're all happy.
Well, friend of the show, Ansem, was notoriously trading Moku clouds back in last bull. So it's cool to see it pop back up again. Can you tell me a little bit about this flip here? Like, we did kind of bounce off of the edge of the cloud here, but what does this flip tell you in context of that?
Yeah, typically there's like two different type of twists that happen at the end. There's ones that are thick that continue to open up, like what you're seeing over here, and there are other ones that close down. They're typically called Kumo twist. What you don't want to see is you don't want to see this start to close down and start to, like, basically become a thinner cloud. That means that the reversal wasn't strong, and the price action is probably going to come down. But regardless of whatever macro price action has been going on, we've stayed strong, we've stayed thick. So as long as we can make it past that Kumo cloud point without breaking out of the clouds, everything should just start popping up.
So like a sort of fake out flip is like this one here, right? Where we sort of had a little green section, but we twisted back, and then finally the big one.
Yeah, what time frame is that?
That's the weekly.
I don't know why that doesn't look the same on my end.
Might be a settings thing.
But yeah, that's pretty much how kind of a Kumo twist work out if they end up falling out. But if the fake out thing's a little bit different, if it fakes out, that's a whole different thing. But yeah, I mean, the breakout's pretty much what we're looking for here. That's why I've been steady in my long positions, because until we get a breakdown of the clouds, there's no need for me to switch my bias, get any kind of invalidation going.
Right. That's very interesting. Well, that's cool, man. You don't meet a whole lot of Moku traders. Of the different like indicator strategies I've seen, like it's less common. And it's always cool to like hear from someone who's kind of deep in that world. So you're sort of giga bullish on that basis, mostly looking at weekly Moku. Very, very cool. Does anyone else have any opinions?
Another Ichimoku trader that comes to mind is Stan XBT. I don't know if you guys have followed Stan, but another really good trader. So there's some interesting people using it. I would just say, from a scalping point of view, I think there's a lot of opportunity from the long and the short side. I don't have a particular bias just yet, but I mean, the vol compression has been, like, we were talking before this stream, you kind of have to really wait and pick your battles and not get lulled into these boredom trades with all this vol compression. Interestingly, the last drop from, what was it, like 29, or that last leg down, the big one. I saw something on Twitter that was saying it was the second largest, or the largest OI wipe since the FTX saga. So I mean, typically, I think, after that OI wipe back then, there was a fair bit of volatility. So hopefully we get a little bit more. But yeah, I think you kind of have to wait for some larger moves. And if you're scalping, like, probably best to just be fading these liquidations for these like mechanical trades rather than like holding beyond the point of origin.
That's kind of the key of scalping in crypto is, like, if you have a good beat on where the short-term pain points are in terms of liquidations, and obviously you can, if you sit there, you can see them.
You can. They're on Agger. That's why I even use it. Yeah.
Totally. And trading those, because if you have a market that's more or less just oscillating at a lower time frame, and that's where it's going to break away from kind of the mean of the bell curve, and those trades are 9 out of 10 times, if you're scalping, they're going to be good. So
yeah.
I think the trick is, if you're not trading those automated, is figuring out how to sit on your fucking hands until they come out.
Yeah. Totally. It's all about the violence, right? Like on the 1M on Agar, I'm always looking for violence, like big
Yeah,
wicks, lots of liquidations, and just if you only ever enter on violence, you can do pretty well. Like as long as you're not holding out for like crazy, big trade percentages.
Yeah, if I'm ever like
totally.
scalping on like the 1 minute, that's like my favorite thing to do is look for like those extreme wicks on those lower
Yep.
time frames, and
Yeah.
that's when I kick up the leverage. I don't typically talk about it because I try to get everybody to avoid leverage, but for the people who know what they're doing, that's like the best point. And we really haven't gotten that many lately, but I'm looking for the big one right now. I'm looking for like at least 1K wick so I can kick up the leverage and do it.
Yeah, and
I
it's
like that.
really a consequence of like necessity that like, when you're scalping 1M, like for instance, like if you saw this violence here and you enter, like you really only have 26.7 down to like 26.5, right? So you like using leverage is just mainly to get in and out with the position size to actually clock anything and not sort of about like taking big risks,
Totally, and that's why I really like the short side as well, because you can get a better read on, and you can use better time based invalidation on the short side because it's kind of like what's the phrase, like elevator down kind of thing. So if you're not getting that move after like a minute or 30 seconds, to just cut it and then try re-entry.
Yeah, totally. And I find when you're scalping, it's just like if you go with that sort of I'm only going to enter on extremes or what I call violence, you end up rooting out, like entering somewhere where like it's not a top. Like, this type of wick on the 1M, like if I see something like that and you tell me that's the top, okay, like maybe I believe you. But if I'm entering like here, or like on one of these very sort of subtle peaks, it's like that doesn't look like a top, man. The tops are obvious. They're huge wicks, lots of violence, big liquidations. And so it just keeps you on the safer side of things to be looking for that. And that's why I enjoy scalping, because it's just a little bit more pleasant in that way.
Another oh, go ahead, Gunny.
Yeah, no, like with scalping, like first kind of 25% of my career was spent scalping.
Yeah.
And when I was very clear that my job was to scalp, and I was basically scalping widgets. Like my job is to buy ones and sell threes.
Yeah.
And maybe once, and a lot of like buy ones and sell ones. And then sometimes buy one and sell seven. And like, and if I'm losing, like buy ones and sell zeros, like over and over again. Mm-hmm. And as long as I was very disciplined about that, you knew over time, if you knew what you were doing, you kind of were like, playing with house edge, and you could do really well with it. The second you started thinking about macro and out too far and suddenly thinking like, oh, I'm making money, like I'm the next Bill Gross, like fucking kiss of death, man.
Yeah, it's also like it's such a great way to get tons of screen time, which like I found that when I spent a year on the 1M, when I go and I zoom out to higher time frames, I'm a lot better at spotting what I'm seeing, because you're just forced, and like there's a fractal, like microstructure is a lot like macro structure when you're looking at a chart on any periodicity, right? So yeah, like it's just a good way to get a sense of like how time-based rotations play out and look, whether you're on the 1M or the 4 hour, doesn't really matter. So yeah, it's definitely been a major boost to my trading ability. And then like scalping rotations, like if you stare at this screen long enough, you'll like, for a month there at the beginning of the year, I was just literally trading these rotations up, down, up, down, up, down, and just getting a sense like with CVD and other indicators, like, okay, when do I expect this to do any sort of up rotation? And you can get there. Like, it's like that Jedi shit where you're like flying without eyes. Like, like right. You just really feel it.
I got to the point with Agger where like it's just I can be anywhere in my house. I just have it turned up really,
Yeah.
really loud, and I'm like, all right, this noise, I know this noise. It's time for me to play.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
was just going to say that, Ace. Yeah, if you figure out the right volume setting, you can hear it hitting that crescendo or that like vocal fry where it's kind of like
Those
fuzzing
liquid
out your
hits.
speakers. Yeah, and then you're like, okay, time to start shorting or longing.
Yeah.
Um,
Very cool.
One thing on that note too, like I feel like that's the power of like a trading room
Yeah.
that
Yeah, it's like the
people really
pit,
don't
isn't it?
capture.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, and I don't want to just like go back to talking the pit because it's like fucking ice age now, but like, but I'll just go generation like in the trading pit. Yes, like it would be really quiet. You knew it was quiet, but then you could feel the energy change when things were starting to heat up, and then like
Yeah.
you knew something crazy was going to happen, or like Max Payne, like you just felt it. It was just like this. When you have all these humans in the same spot, it's like transcendental meditation. Like everybody's energy, just like your brain picks up on it when you know what to look for, and then like off the floor, just being on a trading floor with other traders when shit was crazy, man. Like it was the same thing, and then like you could feel if you were like in a Discord chat or just a trading room, like even like when Hero launched Moonrect in 2019, and like you could feel the energy of everybody like in that pit, like in that trading room, and it actually is a very powerful thing, and like it teaches you a little bit of like your eyeballs like kind of are the lead indicator to what becomes your instincts, and like this is kind of like a different sense that you're picking up on, and it actually works very powerfully.
Yeah, even in the hero Discord pit, like I've gotten signal just from like over exuberance. Like I think it was this peak,
Oh yeah.
or it might have been
Yeah.
this peak, or like I popped in the morning first thing, and someone like we were just clearing somewhere in the 20s, and someone was like, "We could shoot to 40K here," and I'm like, "That's my short trigger."
oh,
Like,
totally.
yeah, like
You get
so,
some
yeah.
of that telemetry on Twitter as well. The feed will be blowing things totally out of proportion.
Yeah,
like when I went to Lisbon during Breakpoint last year for Solana, or 2 years ago, I was trading $240, and like every other person was like on Molly. I'm like, this fucking top.
A few days ago when we broke this 25.2 support and we got down here, the whole timeline, like all of Twitter was like bearish, like excessively bearish, and like we weren't really getting the follow through, and I took it early. Now let me claim no clout whatsoever because I actually closed for a loss because I had to go to sleep and missed out on like a 10K trade. Like if I just woke up the next morning and closed it. But like that's the kind of stuff where it was like, wow, we're really not breaking down heavy after breaking this like very obvious major level. And everyone on the timeline is like quote unquote positioned short. It seems like this stuff is not actually going to break down.
Dude, that's what's blown my mind this entire time with Bitcoin. Like all the news, all the horrible stuff with the government and regulations, and we haven't broken down yet. That like blows my mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we did because we broke down from 70,000.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, there's that breakdown.
Well,
Like
also, like
here's the other thing, a great indicator, and I say this every time on these streams. Like right now, the Bitcoin curve it's still contangoed, right? Like we're breaking down. There's all this bearish news, but like the front month's trading 26.6. Like these futures are trading 26.9. Like it's like you could carry that basis and make a 4% yield. Like it's not much, but it's still that to me. Like I'm not kidding. Ever since I started trading Bitcoin, and like once they started releasing perps, and like even like the perp, or sorry, once they started releasing Bitcoin futures, like it's been the best indicator when that curve is when you have higher prices further out. or when it goes inverted, like when it goes backwardated. Like it's such a good indicator of like larger player market sentiment.
Yeah, that's Nomad's been posting all that shit like for the past week. He's just been posting like about like the futures positioning, and he frequently does that. So, you know, you see some pretty unfadable characters doing it.
He's Nomad is bred from the same.
He's Chicago market maker folks, right?
Yeah, he's big brain.
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Another indicator that might be a bit hard to get a read on in crypto because of all these different markets, but it's pretty useful. I don't know if it's really an indicator, but you know, if you're trading something like ES or NQ, you know, you can, if you're scalping, you know, I pay a lot of attention to the liquidity environment. So you can see quite easily when market makers are like pinning, for example, or when they're getting ready to delta chase, and then when they pull some of that liquidity, you get a lot of those back and forth ticks. And so that's something, you know, and so if you're looking at that and you're paying attention to the tape, you can figure out, okay, these are the best times to be scalping, and this is when I should be playing some sort of like mean reversion versus, okay, now there's maybe a trend that I should be looking at, and, you know, just trading the trend. So
yeah, and that's why, like, it's one of the mechanical explanations for why like ranges end up working out so well. It's just like that underlying sort of market maker intention behind price movement is like, well, like, why is it that these two random lines with a midpoint end up working out? And it's like, well, there's positioning like behind all of that on the passive side. Well, cool, dude. I feel like we got a good amount of scalp talk out of the way. Now, to help me in my scalping endeavors, I would love to learn about what you guys got going on at Flowmatic, because I've been on-chain perp boy for the last like 2-3 months.
Totally. Well, you know, before, you know, I spent a lot of time trading on central exchanges, and so Flowmatic came about when I narrowly escaped the FTX saga, and there was all this like Binance FUD, and I was looking at trading on chain just because I didn't really want to be on a centralized exchange anymore. So I was exploring DeFi and looking at all these different primitives, and came across Hitta, and there was really an opportunity to build out a lot of the tools that I wanted to use myself. So really scratching my own proverbial itch, and so we launched some like a very raw version of a scalping terminal. So basically, on the back end, to get to the terminal, we had to build out a lot of the exchange infrastructure and plumbing, and then we built the terminal on top of that. But we definitely pushed it out a little raw. That said, we got a lot of really good feedback from the community, and started talking to a lot of really interesting people. So we took that off, and we're actually reworking things quite a bit. So we'll have a newer version of the terminal soon, and we'll have a lot of these advanced order types actually available for anyone to use via an API. So things like TWAPs, things like bracket orders, what else? Stop loss orders, hidden limit orders, things like that. So that'll actually be available via an API soon. And so we've got some projects that are gearing up to use it. One of them being Pepperdex, which you've probably seen some things on Twitter. And so bottom line, we're reworking a lot of things, and we'll be releasing it soon. And we're really just taking our time to talk to people in the community and figure out what people want, what they need. Got some really cool partnerships lined up as well. Maybe I'll touch on those a little bit later, though. But
yeah, and just to expand a little bit about what Hitta's saying, like our direction isn't necessarily, hey, we're trying to push everybody out of the way and become number one. Our more so direction is, hey, let's go ahead and partner. Let's go ahead and integrate, because we want to be a more so universal hub for people to use our advanced order types and whatever else they need that we provide. So we're more so trying to work together with everybody rather than trying to just take everybody's spot or push out into number one.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think that's like speaking to the spirit of what Hero's doing and has done. Like when I'm trading on chain perps, like the fragmented liquidity problem is a direct pain point. It's something I have to deal with constantly. I have to look at like, okay, Mux has 500 Bitcoin available for underwriting like my positions. Like, okay, do I need to use another venue? I constantly have to check venues like liquidity, and for Hero to just be aggregating all that and then to come on and provide layers on top of that. And like, if there's other liquidity sources or if there's other dexes where, you know, people want to do business, like to integrate with all of that, like we need to start bringing together this fragmented liquidity across dexes if we want them to be an actual alternative to centralized exchanges.
Yeah, and just to explain to like people like what that means is that basically means like let's say you're on like Uniswap, SushiSwap, whatever it might be, whatever DeFi product you're using. It becomes a pain point when you end up having to switch all over the place. One might be down, one might not be working, or there's just so many to pick from. That's where Flowmatic comes in. Let's say you want to do a swap, but you want to do some sort of advanced order type on that swap. That's where Flowmatic you'll be able to choose our special order types and execute them. Because right now, all you can do on any of these DeFi products is pretty much just swap, and that's it. It's very difficult to see a chart. It's very difficult to pull any kind of advanced order type, limit orders, TWAP orders, anything of the sorts. So I think that's kind of where Flowmatic will come in.
Hell yeah. Dude, I'm super
I'll
excited.
talk about it a little from the Hero perspective. Like the bottom line is their team is built like a fucking kick-ass API that's very easy to integrate with, and that API wrapper around dexterity just like opens up a lot of doors for like I've always seen, and you know, like I've talked with the Flowmatic guys since day one. Like I've always seen it as being like the primary API or API library for Hero Network, and what it'll end up doing is like on top of Terminal, which you know will be for people that are looking to do, you know, more kind of point and click trading and more, you know, utilize more advanced order types and stuff. But the reality is like liquidity in a market is very Pareto principled, where like 98% of the liquidity is from like 2% of the participants. And those participants outside of just like market makers are automated trading systems.
Yeah.
And so, and even like, you know, even on the retail all the way up to like kind of semi-professional, all the way up to professional. And they've written a really world-class API. And, you know, when we've talked about this early on, you know, like you definitely still need a UI and everything. And like, I love this concept that they're going to basically be the like way to very quickly and easily connect into dexterity markets, into Hero Network derivative markets, and they're like, just from like an ecosystem perspective and kind of value accrual and stuff, like Flowmatic's positioned incredibly well, because not only like the technology side of things, but also the fact that like they're going to be getting a little transaction fee off of every single one of those automated trading systems that are hooked into it. Plus, like offering libraries to things like PepperDex and to some other dexes that are coming out. And it is a very key part to like having this this aggregation concept within the context of Hero Network. And yeah, been great to have them on. So
great point, Gunny, and that's exactly who we're targeting. You know, it's the scalpers as well as these automated traders. I mean, like you mentioned, they are the power users, and so I think if we can build a tool for them that's really useful to them, and they're continually using it, it's really easy to build a pared back version of that for the more casual user who might not be sitting there with their eyes bleeding and their ears bleeding listening to Agger. So it's really easy to go backwards. So that's and we've been working on this code base for a while now, and we figured out a lot of different ways to do things, and actually we made some breakthroughs the last couple of weeks where people might not even need an API anymore. They can just go straight to the chain with some of these advanced order types. So I'll leave it at that for now. But there's some really cool things coming, and we've got some good people in our corner. We figured out a lot of the right ways and the wrong ways to do things. So I'm excited for the next version that we'll release. And I saw you trying to access the terminal. We actually took our terminal down while we rewrite a whole bunch of stuff, and we're actually rewriting a better version of the API as well. So that'll be ready soon. Right now, it's really Nolo that's using the API. So a lot of these advanced order types will be in Nolo pretty soon. I want to say in the next day or two, we'll have those in. We'll have those in Nolo, so like TWAPs, bracket orders, stop orders. So we're kind of using that as like a proxy to test some of these things out and bring them into a more robust system that we'll release very soon, along with our token.
Wow, dude. Oh, wait, so you guys will have a token for Flowmatic?
Yeah, we will. So it's we're kind of just waiting for a little bit of life in the market to release the token, and really the purpose behind the token is, beyond just rev share. If you're trading on some of these other terminals, they're making money from your order flow. Meanwhile, the exchange is making money from your trading fees. So right now, the way we have it set up, the user will be able to monetize their order flow a little bit beyond their trading P&L. So it's really a way to help these traders capture some of the value that they're creating with their order flow. And so there will be volume incentives in addition to the ones Hxro already has. So it'll be good for people to go and farm some of these incentives. But yeah, it's really just about helping some of these power users and traders own a share of the network. It's like almost like owning a share of one of these other terminals that exists along with the Binance API, because the rev share will be being generated. To be generated from the fees as well as the terminal side of things.
Yeah, it's an interesting problem that, like, if I'm a power user, if I have order volume in the millions on a weekly basis, then like the fee structure might not, like they have to set a fee structure globally. And so it might not apply to me, conveniently in the way it doesn't really matter for someone who's doing less volume. So to have a token where I can express that it means more to me to have lower fees would be sick. Or at least like accrue some of that order flow fee back to myself. Like, having options really.
Toast, that is like
exactly
it. I mean, this is by design with the network, right? Like, and like we kind of call it like incentives squared,
right?
Where you're earning your Hxro network volume incentives, plus like you're getting the base Hxro fee gets discounted if depending on how much you're staking, which is a new concept that recently went in. So you have this one level where you're staked Hxro, and it's reducing that maker taker fee already. And then, assume that you're also earning, like, as you're trading through Flowmatic, you're farming incentives there. All of that is feeding back into your P&L. Like, a lot of traders don't think about that.
Right.
But at certain levels, you're basically trading for. You're trading. I don't want to call it rebate trading, but it's like you're trading effectively could be where you're virtually trading for nothing. It's just so
yeah.
Plus the the principal up or down of token, plus like with Hxro also. So on top of it, like you're staking that Hxro, and then you're getting 50%. Your pro rata share 50% of all network fees. And then if you're going to stake your Flowmatic, they'll likely have something worked in as well where you're getting percentage of fees that way. So
how does that work? Like, if I'm trading from the same wallet that's staking, then the fee discount is automatic?
Great question. So we just launched, or the contributors for Hero Network just launched a delegation system.
Oh, okay.
So you don't have to. Let's say you have, 250,000 heroes sitting in a wallet. You don't have to connect the TRG from that wallet in order to earn the incentive. You can delegate your 250,000 stake hero. You can delegate the rights of that to a TRG from another wallet, to another trader wallet.
Right.
It doesn't have to be yours. Also, you could delegate it to a friend. It doesn't matter.
Gunny, can you you don't trade that much anymore, right? Why don't you delegate your hero staking to me, and then I can give fee free trade?
Me too, Gunny.
Yeah.
Is that a no? It sounds like a no.
No, it's not a no. It's
I'm just
my hero is accounted for. And also we loaned a considerable amount of our just Rob and I loaned a considerable amount back to the foundation to on a loan to do like incentives and things like that as well. Because if you remember, the foundation was launched without a new token, so it had a self-fund itself. So, but that said, we are doing some other things with around loans and stuff like that. That's some new things that are going to come down the pipe here.
Ooh.
So there'll be opportunity like that. If you're an active trader and the economics make sense, that's why I'm not saying no.
Yeah, there might be programs.
Yeah, then you set up some agreement and delegate stake and stake hero, and then
Just make a friend that can give it to all your chat holders.
Yeah, yeah, it would be sick to have like you could run for delegation where it's like, hey, you don't trade, like delegate to me and I will like auto share X amount of like P&L percentage or whatever. It'd be sick. Man, there's a lot of fun stuff you can do with a blockchain and a computer, huh?
Totally.
Yeah, and that's like one of the main reasons I decided to finally join a project in crypto, because I've been around forever and I really don't actually full on join a project like this. And Hitta's been on my streams for a while, and me and him talk all the time, and just to see what these two are capable of, because especially the last week, these guys just been hardcore grinding in the dev room for ever. So they're very, very capable guys. We got great support from Hero people, from Gunny. So I was like, all right, this is the perfect situation. Let's do this. So I'm super excited.
So when will I be able to click trade majors on Hero Network with your terminal? Do you guys know a date?
I think we're targeting end of the month.
Yes.
It's really just dependent on, like I said, we want to see a little bit of life in the market again, and then we launch the terminal, the token, and things are kind of getting ready to ship out consistently after the token launch.
Right.
So very soon, TM.
Yeah, I think right now what our main concern is more so security and refinement. So we want to make sure everything on the back end is secure, everything is refined, and then we'll roll out things. But expected targets are by the end of the month we launch everything fully and publicly. So that's kind of our goal timeline as well. But if obviously the market looks like shit, there's no point in launching when markets are down. But I'm bullish, so I think we'll be fine coming close to the end of the month.
Well, all right, dude. I'm super psyched. I can't freaking wait to try it out. It's super cool. The concept of it, and also just Heroes come up in the bear market has been intense. All these projects launching in such a short time frame, and the true sort of promise of centralized but permissionless liquidity. I really get it now. It's not just a bunch of techno gobbledygook. I totally get why it's useful now that I'm trying to trade all these different liquidity pools and they're all fragmented. It makes so much sense. So it's great to see.
Yeah, especially when liquidity's at an all-time low, right?
Yeah, dude, it really matters now.
Imagine when it's 100x this, and when the market turns, and
Yeah.
You're going to be in the best. You're going to be knee deep in the best liquidity pools in all crypto. So
I'm freaking psyched.
Well, and these 0-day futures that have just been launched are actually quite innovative, and so I think they'll attract more liquidity to the system as new tickers are launched and as that process gets refined. And
Man,
so that's pretty exciting.
They're really cool, and it's like there's something about them for short-term trading that is just like so on point. I don't, Toast, have you tried them yet or no?
No, dude, but I've been reading. I read a bunch of stuff like 2 months ago about the recent surge in 0-day futures, like and how it's impacted like the equity markets. Like someone was making the argument.
Zero D options.
Oh yeah, sorry, options. Yeah. Okay, so the difference here is that it's an actual futures contract, not an.
It's an actual future that has a 25-hour expiration, so it launches an hour before the new day, and then runs till 0000 UTC. At the end of that top day.
Huh. So okay, so we just had Robot James on, who was talking about basically like, yeah, he's talking about options, but no, sorry, he was talking about futures. He was talking about
nice.
Futures basis. So like a lot of his trading in the last bull had to do with like just capturing futures basis, and so a lot of what he talked about in that episode can be applied to this concept, right? If you notice that there is a delta between the futures price on that 0-day future,
got it.
Yeah, and then you don't have to wait months. You can wait a day.
Like so the way they're built is, I think right now they just settle to underlying mark price, but there's the devs are building in a like a 1 hour. It's a VWAP of the last hour of the spot price, so like of the Oracle price, and so you can track that tick for tick, and then there's all these cool new trades that get created, like trading in like the last 30 minutes, because you're like, okay, you can like basically measure like what's the probability of this thing closing here or here or here or here, and anything around that net of fees is pure arbitrage, because you know it's going to settle. It always, one of the key features of it is all open interest goes back to zero, so everything settles, everything matches up and settles at the end of the day. You're long at the close, you get settled at the settlement price, and it just puts the USDC back in your account. Vice versa, you're short at the close, same thing. So if you're net long and it's gonna, it's closing much higher, like you'll ride that right into the close, right? You have no reason even to close the position out. It just has all of these cool features that that allow you, like it's just going to introduce so many new trades, and then there's always this like, it's all these cool things that can be done between like perps and like on the more blue chip stuff like ETH and Sol and BTC, like perps versus the 0-day, or like the 0-day versus the next day, like all these little tight little micro spreads.
Yeah,
just gonna be so much cool shit that's gonna come out of it, man. And it's like, so it's just, this space is so ripe for a new product. It's like, I feel like the perp's been around for 11 years now. Like time to show the world something new, and I think we're onto something pretty big here.
So I'm basically an idiot, functionally incapable. I'm surprised I can tie my shoes in the morning. Let me try to grok all this, right? What you're saying is that in Robot's example, we have the underlying spot price and the futures price. And when there is a difference between them, you can capture that difference by longing one and shorting the other. That can happen in a bull market. The futures price can get dislocated from the spot price because of insane demand for leverage. In this case, the same could happen. There could be insane demand for leverage on a single day futures contract, that would push it above spot price and you could capture the basis. But what you just said is like, well, there could be delta between the futures price and the spot price. There also could be future delta between the futures price and the next day's futures price, or the futures and the perp. Okay, cool. So it's different ways to capture that basis.
Well, and when you have that, like, market makers love that stuff, right? So that's more liquidity that gets added to the entire curve, and all that liquidity rolls up to the front, which makes the market even more liquid. So, which is kind of another feature of it. But bottom line is, I think for short-term scalping, these things they're great. There's no funding rate. Like, you don't have to worry about funding. You're getting really, getting expand style margining, like professional style margining on these things, and it, like, because of the way they're structured, it's really easy to launch derivatives on things that are less liquid.
Right.
So the first thing that launched was on Harry Potter Obama Sonic 10 Inu.
Rocks.
And yeah, which, like, and it's been traded like $2,000 the first day, traded like $4,000 the next day, $5,000 the next day, $5,000 the next, after that, like, it's every day is just like a little bit more and more. But man, it, like, the fact that you can trade these things on leverage, and like market makers love it because they know they're not going to be in a position where they're going to get like fucking game stopped, where they're going to be on the other side of a mob and have to carry a position on one leg that is quite possibly not liquid enough to get out of. So you could hedge, a market maker could hedge against Binance all day. It doesn't matter if on the leg that he needs to hedge, like on his that he's hedging, he can't get out of when he needs to unwind it.
Gunny,
so
were you aware that we were talking about Harry Potter Obama Sonic 10 Inu in the pit in 2021?
No, I'm
it
really
was like
annoyed that
it was a darling of the pit in 2021. The devs left that old ticker and made a new one on Ethereum, and that's the one that's going crazy right now. But we were onto it way early.
Bro, this is the peril of being a founder. Like, I was so dialed into building, and we were ramping up the building on Dexterity and the parimutuel protocol and everything, and I had blinders on.
Yeah.
And during that period, you had, like, the pit was building up, like, right under my nose, right in the labs pit, and like Time Wonderland was there, like everything was there, and I
DFK, very early calls for DFK.
I was a fucking martyr. I was the martyr that just, like, had his books up on building Hero.
Well, it's definitely coming to fruition now with all of these awesome projects launching on Hero.
Thanks, brother. I think that's the plan, right?
Yeah.
And as Gunny always, I was just going to say, Gunny always says liquidity is reflexive. So, if you're an active trader and you're looking for alpha, risk premia, dislocations, I mean, now is the time to be looking into that stuff. If you see a dislocation in one price versus the other, I mean, that's amazing. I mean, it's not that, this market's like inefficient or, there's a price mismatch. It's like there's an opportunity for you to be making money on that. And there are opportunities.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm keep calling back to the Robot James episode, but he really painted the picture, because a lot of us earlier traders, or like more novice traders, we're directional punt guys, and Robot really like laid the framework to think about trading in a far less risky context. Or as he calls it, like stupid. Like, he's like, I'm not smart enough to know where this is going in this time frame. I'm just looking for, scraps, table scraps that I can eat off of. And it seems like this product suite that keeps on rolling out for Hero is also opening up lots of interesting areas to feed on those table scraps. Like, there's going to be dislocations across like a wide variety of different types of products where you can find that sort of edge.
Absolutely. And the way the margining system is set up, it's meant to it's portfolio margining on steroids. So if you have two highly correlated products, like a Bitcoin perp and a Bitcoin 0-day, like in your long one, short the other, it costs you nothing, almost nothing to carry it.
You guys, wait, Okay, sorry, I'm totally late to the party here. You can do portfolio margining on Hero Network.
Hero Network is that is portfolio mark. Like it's not. So it's all USDC, right?
Right.
You can't come and like use
Harry Potter Obama.
Soul. Yeah, you can't use that as the right. So it's not like physically so. But yeah, it's so if you're like long a Bitcoin perp and short a, like if you're long the ETH perp and short the ETH 0 day, those two will get collapsed in the portfolio and the margining. It's span style, so
Oh,
it'll
so
look at it as like, this is like super.
Let me get this
these
right.
things are hyper correlated. Like you're going to get you get margin relief for it.
If I long the ETH perp with USDC on like let's say Nolo, and I have like an unrealized P&L of let's say $500, I then can open positions up to my total unrealized P&L plus principal on any other product. Like I don't have to close the trade to use it as margin.
Correct.
Holy shit. That's insane, dude.
But like even more so, it's all really built ultimately for like eventually when you have a real futures curve, like you want to have pretty much all other, especially in the DEX world, anything that has a future attached to it, it's all isolated margin. So they margin you on both legs separately.
Okay.
Hero Network's risk engine, which is called Spandex, margins you on the aggregate.
Holy shit.
Yeah. So if you have a bunch of things that are like super correlated, like if you have a Bitcoin 1 month future against the Bitcoin 2 month future, like those things they're not going to dislodge from each other, right? Like unless there was some event in between the two expirations.
Wait. That also means that it makes execution so much simpler. Because if I see, like, let's say the Bitcoin, 1 month future is trading at a 10% premium to the perp, yep. I can short the future along the perp, and I virtually cannot get liquidated, and I can just wait till that basis closes.
I mean, if you could get liquidated, but it's
what the hell, Gunny?
No,
just kidding.
you can carry the margin. The margin requirement to carry that position is way less than if you were carrying it outright or if you were carrying them in another.
Okay, right. Protocol. Right. So I don't have to actually tie up both legs. I can open one leg, right, open the other, and then remove margin to the degree that I need to get most of my principal back. Because
it will cancel out your correct. It'll cancel out your margin requirement because of the extremely high correlation of the two assets.
That's so nuts, dude. Like, man, if you're watching this and you don't fully get it, like, don't worry, me neither. But like, if you can start to wrap your head around the implications of that, it's huge.
I think we should do another episode that just like dumbs it down for it. Like,
give some examples of like how you might use it as edge to do.
Yeah, I want to teach people how to trade spreads eventually. Yeah, like you buy asset A, you sell asset B, like they're super correlated. And you're trading like the relationship of the two versus like betting on whether or not it's going to go higher or lower.
Yeah. Like for instance, if we're getting like a big correction in the middle of an otherwise up only market, you might expect like futures premium to close, and so you might actually short the spread of the future against the spot, right?
That's right, and also like eventually when you carry futures again, like even outside like tenors beyond the ZDFs, the 0 days, like imagine trading a basis that's like a 1 week future or a ZDF or a perp even against like the DES future, and like that has positive basis. Like you can trade the SEP future to the DES future right now and get like an annualized yield of about 4%. But because of the way the risk engine works, like in other risk engines on other DEXs, it basically is going to say, hey, to long the 1 month Bitcoin, like one Bitcoin is $5,000 a margin, right? It's going to give you 5 to 1, let's say. And then to short the 3 month is another 5,000.
But in this case, you
So
only
you gotta
need the
post 7.
one.
In
You
this
only need-
case, like it's maybe if you were long one Bitcoin 1 month, it maybe costs 5,000 like other ones. But if you're long the 1 month and short the 3 month, it may only cost you $2,000 to carry it.
Okay, so you're having an actual like increase of capital efficiency to the tune of like 50% in some cases.
Massively. And then when you
Wow,
carry
dude.
butterflies, which are a whole other ball of wax I don't want to get into, like it's like 1,000% better. It's
My brain is effed right now. Just like I'm getting
Sorry,
a
dude.
combinatorial
No.
explosion of like new ideas I wasn't aware
I didn't
of.
want to get into combinatorial matrices on this discussion today.
Dude, that's so tight. Okay, so if you're watching this and you don't understand, just let me sum it down for you. It's super tight. Extra tight.
That's it.
Yes, sir.
Super tight.
Wow, dude. Well, thanks so much for giving me more of a peek into sort of the unique benefits of Hero Network. Super fire.
Yeah, man.
Well, gents, this has been a raucous good time, and I've certainly learned a lot. I got to go write some notes now. But is there anything else you guys want to tell us before we close out here?
Well, thank you for having us on. We're building a bunch of things, and we're excited to share them with you all soon. So stay tuned. And yeah.
Hell
That's
yeah!
on my
Appreciate you
end.
having me on. It was fun.
Yeah, seriously.
That's
I'm the first in there. Let me know when the terminal opens back up. I'm in there.
Absolutely.
Well,
Awesome.
thanks so much, guys. And thank you, Gunny. Gunny, we got to do that other episode. So I have a million questions to ask.
Let me know when. We'll do
Hell
it.
yeah,
We'll do it for
dude.
sure.
Well, guys, if you want to hear about amazing projects like Time Wonderland and Harry Potter Obama Sonic 10 Inu before anyone else does, you go to hxro.com, you click the community tab, you join the Discord, and you talk to a piece of toast all day. And I'll see you guys in there. Thank you so much for joining us, everybody.
Yeah.